Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you are. Guys, big fight this week. Fight week is upon us. We've gonna do a lot of videos this week about the Canelo Alvarez and Caleb Plant fight. We've been doing it already, but I'm gonna be doing live streams as well. Whenever I can get time to do something live, we'll do it. We'll discuss, and we'll definitely have a chin wag about the fight. Hopefully, let's see if I can do one tomorrow. I'll try to get one done tomorrow. But what I wanted to talk about is Carl Frampton said that he feels that Canelo Alvarez needs to Caleb Plant needs to outbox Canelo Alvarez like Floyd Mayweather did. A lot of people bring that fight up. A lot of people think that, you need to use the Mayweather blueprint. And that's right, yeah. You definitely take something from that Mayweather fight because Mayweather comprehensively beat Canelo Alvarez in that fight. It was quite a one-sided fight, and you could tell who the best pound for pound fighter was at that time, and you could tell that Canelo just wasn't at the races with Mayweather. Mayweather was too good. He was too defensively sound. He was too sharp. He was just too clever for Canelo Alvarez. Before I go forward, smash the like button on this video. Smash the like button. Let's see if this video can get to 120 likes. 120 likes. A challenge for you guys. 120 likes. Let's see if we can get 120 likes. But coming back to it, what I don't agree with is the fact that firstly, when Canelo fought Mayweather, he was about 23, 24 years of age. He was very young. Very, very young. He wasn't at his peak. He wasn't the best pound for pound fighter in the world. He didn't have the experience of fighting so many champions. He hadn't faced Gennady Golovkin. And really, when you think about it, he hadn't really been in the ring with anybody that prepared him for Mayweather. Really, when you think about it, he was fighting guys that he was supposed to beat, and they were building him up. I actually think that fight came too early, and I don't understand why they took that fight. There was people at the time that did think that Canelo could beat Mayweather because Canelo at that time was a very good fighter. I just don't think that it was a right move for Canelo to fight Mayweather at that particular point. I think Mayweather was always probably going to come out on top because Mayweather, we all know, is a very, very great defensive fighter. And unfortunately, Canelo, for me, wasn't experienced enough to be in the ring with Mayweather at that particular point. I think Mayweather was just too experienced. He was too good at that point. That's not to say that the Canelo now wouldn't have been able to give Mayweather issues. Yeah, Canelo now would have been able to give Mayweather issues. But Mayweather was Mayweather. Let's not forget that Mayweather was a very, very he was hard to hit. You could hardly hit Mayweather. He was so sharp, and then he would counter you. Mayweather was so gifted and so sharp and so good. The problem is when you're saying, oh, Caleb needs to use Mayweather's blueprint, Caleb needs to outbox Canelo like Mayweather. Firstly, Mayweather's once in a generation fighter. You're talking about one of the greatest fighters of all time. You're talking about a guy that's probably in the top 5 greatest fighters of all time. I don't see Caleb Plant being on that level. So we're talking about two guys that are not on the same level. Caleb Plant is not Floyd Mayweather. Let's get that out there. So all the people that saying that Caleb needs to box, he's not Mayweather. He's not Mayweather. There's no one out there that is. Mayweather was unbelievable. He was special. His boxing brain was on another level. It's not just what he was gifted with physically. His boxing brain was so much superior than his peers. He was so gifted. Look at what he did to Pacquiao. He beat Pacquiao comfortably. And Pacquiao was a great fighter. So my point I'm making is that to say that, oh, well, Mayweather did that, or, Caleb Plant's not Mayweather. There isn't another Mayweather in boxing right now. So I don't think Caleb Plant has that kind of skill, that ability to do what Mayweather did. He has attributes that may cause Canelo issues. But, Mayweather controlled the pace of a fight. Mayweather would dictate everything. You wouldn't land on Mayweather. You just wouldn't land. Like, Canelo's very slick himself now, but he's not as defensively as good as Mayweather. Mayweather, you couldn't hit him. You couldn't hit Mayweather. Very difficult. If you look at the guy that had success with him in Maidana, had a lot of success, but Canelo don't fight like that. Canelo's a proper boxer. Maidana's like a brawler. He walks you down, a pressure fighter, and he's a real brawler. So he was able to give Mayweather issues. But if you're a technical boxer, it's very, very difficult against Mayweather. Very, very difficult. And I think also what people aren't realizing is Canelo's got so much better since the Mayweather fight. He's a much better fighter now. Way better. Back then, Canelo wasn't as defensively as good as he is now. Canelo, for me, isn't even as powerful then as he is now. He's not as intelligent. He's now got the experience. He's also got the boxing IQ, the ring IQ. His feet have become a lot better. He's not just chasing people off around the ring. He's cutting the ring off. Canelo is just overall a much complete fighter than what he was when he fought Floyd Mayweather. And that's a fact. He's just a way better fighter now. He's a way better fighter. So when you add all of that in, the fact that Caleb Plant isn't Mayweather, and no one is really, and Canelo's got so much better. And now when Canelo fought Mayweather, Mayweather was the best pound for pound fighter in the world. Now Canelo is the best pound for pound fighter in the world. And the way people were looking at Mayweather and Canelo, that Canelo may not have the experience, he hasn't really fought at that level. People are looking at the same way as Caleb Plant towards Canelo. The tables have turned because Canelo now is effectively the Mayweather of boxing now. I'm not going to get into debate. I'm not saying he's as good. I'm not saying he's better. Because I think Canelo was a lot more beatable than probably Floyd. He's a lot more beatable than Floyd. He's lost to Floyd. And he's also, having said that, Mayweather, you could say he lost to Castillo. The Maidana fight was close. But Mayweather fought a lot better fighters as well. If you look at the fighters that Mayweather fought, Gatti, Corrales, Pacquiao, Zab Judah. He fought Miguel Cotto, Shane Mosley. He fought Ricky Hatton. He fought, so when you look at the names, Mayweather fought Maidana. He fought a lot of very good fighters, very, very good fighters. So Canelo can only beat what's there. Canelo can only beat the fighters that are there, and he's beating them convincingly. He's showing that he's a level above. For me, when Canelo ends his career, I believe he'll be spoken in the same regard like a Mayweather, like a Pacquiao. Maybe people may not look at they may not give him, they may not view him as great as those guys, possibly not, but it depends on what Canelo goes on to do from now to the end of his career, what more he goes on to achieve. The only problem that I think Canelo has is that there's not really a lot of big super fights out there for him. Like, if you look at Mayweather had Pacquiao. Mayweather had quite a few other guys where he could fight Marquez, Morales. Like, he could fight so many guys, and they were all Hall of Fame fighters in their own right. Whereas Canelo doesn't really have that. Canelo doesn't really have stiff competition in around what he's beating. He's beating guys that, even Andrade and Charlo, these are at the minute, you'd have to say they're decent champions, but they're not Hall of Fame fighters, and Canelo's not really got those big super fights out there. So he's probably going to go, the way he's going to do it is probably having to fight all of them and dominating all of them, and then probably moving up weight and then because he hasn't got, Sugar Ray Leonard had Roberto Duran, Tommy Hearns, Marvin. That's his legacy set. You know, Canelo doesn't have that. He doesn't have those names. He doesn't have that kind of stiff. Like, he had it with Golovkin, and he fought him twice, got a draw and won. You know, arguably lost the first fight. But unfortunately for Canelo, he hasn't got the names in around his weight classes. So he's probably going to have to move up. And people know Beterbiev's a very good fighter. So he's going to have to take risks and move up and fight bigger guys to prove his greatness. Whereas those guys had a lot of stiff competition. There was a lot of great fighters in their division. Unfortunately, Canelo is he's not blessed with the same kind of competition. But I think the way Canelo is dominating, that's impressive. And irrespective, champions are champions. And the way Canelo is dominating other champions, I think you have to take that into account. He is a special fighter right now. And he's dominating in style. And I think right now Canelo's in a groove. Canelo's got the bit between his teeth. Canelo wants to prove to everybody that he's the greatest fighter of this generation. That's what Canelo wants to prove, that he's a level above. And like I said, I think Canelo's going to take some beating, man. Canelo is a very, 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 very special fighter. And I don't see Caleb Plant beating him. I don't see any of these guys beating him. I think Canelo Alvarez is going to put on a show, put on a statement come November 7th. I'm really looking forward to it. I am excited. And I'm looking forward to how this fight plays out. Can Caleb Plant cause Canelo issues? Can he even cause an upset? I don't see it. But boxing's boxing. And that's why we're going to be watching, because it's going to be very, very intriguing. I hope Canelo Alvarez does the business as a Canelo fan. But, you know, I'll call it fair. If Caleb Plant goes on to win the fight, and I think he wins the fight, afterwards, I'll say I think Caleb won. If he was to genuinely win. I thought, look, I wanted Canelo to beat Golovkin. I'm a Canelo fan. But Golovkin won that first fight. I'll say it how it is. You know, I'll say it how it is. But leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below about that. And guys, remember to please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.